The equation on the window. The morning sun cast long shadows across the 42nd floor of Patterson Industries, painting the executive conference room in golden hues. Marcus Patterson stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, his reflection mingling with the city skyline below. At 53, he had built his technology empire from nothing, but today felt different. Today, everything hung in the balance. Behind him, the mahogany conference table stretched like an island of polished wood, surrounded by empty leather chairs that would soon hold his most trusted advisors. On the wall, a massive whiteboard displayed what looked like hieroglyphics to most people, complex mathematical equations, flowcharts, and diagrams that represented $200 million in research and development. 2 years of work. Hundreds of the brightest minds, all leading to this moment. The problem was simple to state but impossible to solve. Patterson Industries was developing a revolutionary battery technology that could change everything. Electric, vehicles, renewable energy storage, even space exploration. But there was a flaw, a mathematical impossibility buried deep in the energy conversion equations that made their prototype unstable. The battery would work perfectly for weeks, then suddenly fail without warning. Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of responsibility. His investors were growing impatient. His competitors were closing in. His own board of directors questioned whether the project should continue. In 3 hours, he would have to face them all and admit defeat or find a miracle. "Excuse me, Mr. Patterson." The voice was soft, hesitant. Marcus turned to see Elena Rodriguez standing in the doorway, her cleaning cart beside her. She was a small woman in her 40s with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. For 5 years, she had cleaned these offices, with quiet efficiency, arriving before dawn and leaving after sunset. She was part of the invisible workforce that kept the building running, noticed only when something went wrong. "I'm sorry to bother you," Elena continued, her accent carrying traces of her childhood in El Salvador. "I know you have your big meeting soon. I just need to clean the windows, and I'll be out of your way." Marcus nodded absently and returned to his brooding. The city below buzzed with life, people hurrying to work, unaware that a decision made in this room today could affect millions of jobs, could determine whether America led the green energy revolution or fell behind. The pressure felt crushing. Elena moved with practiced silence, spraying and wiping the windows with smooth, methodical strokes. Marcus barely noticed her presence until he heard something unexpected, humming. Not just any tune, but the melody that always helped him think. Mozart's Piano Concerto, number 21. How did his cleaning lady know classical music? He glanced over and froze. Elena had stopped cleaning. She stood before the whiteboard, her cloth hanging forgotten in her hand, staring at the equations with an intensity that made Marcus's chest tighten. Her eyes moved across the formulas with the kind of focus he recognized, the same look his top engineers wore when wrestling with impossible problems. "Mrs. Rodriguez?" he said gently. "Is everything all right?" Elena startled, dropping her cloth. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Patterson. I didn't mean to stare. It's just—" She hesitated, wringing her hands. "My English isn't perfect, but those numbers, they remind me of something." Marcus felt his heartbeat quicken. "What do they remind you of?" Elena looked down at her feet, embarrassed. "It's probably nothing. I should finish cleaning and go." "Please," Marcus said, moving closer to the whiteboard. "Tell me what you see." Elena bit her lip, then pointed to a section of equations near the center of the board. "In my country, my father, he was a professor of mathematics at the University of San Salvador. Before the war changed everything, he used to bring his work home, and I would help him check his calculations." Her voice grew stronger as she continued. "These equations here, they look like the stability problems we worked on for crystalline structures. But there's a mistake." Marcus's breath caught. "A mistake?" Elena nodded, gaining confidence. The coefficient in this thermal expansion equation, it should account for lattice distortion under variable temperature. But see here? She pointed to a specific line. This assumes uniform molecular spacing. In reality, when the temperature changes rapidly, the crystal structure develops microfractures that create instability cascades. The room fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Marcus stared at the equation Elena had identified, one that his team of PhD engineers had worked on for months. She was right. The assumption was wrong, so fundamentally wrong that it had blinded them all to the solution. How? Marcus whispered. How did you see that? Elena's eyes brightened with the joy of intellectual discovery. My father always said that mathematics is like cleaning. You must look at what others cannot see, find the dirt hiding in the corners. She smiled sadly. When the Civil War came, we lost everything. My father was killed, and I came here with nothing. I learned to clean buildings instead of solving equations, but numbers never leave you. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. Here was a woman who had been invisible to him, who he had passed in hallways without really seeing, and she had just solved a problem worth $200 million in seconds. Not because she had fancy degrees or expensive software, but because she understood mathematics in her bones and saw what his entire team had missed. Elena, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Would you help me fix this equation? For the next hour, Marcus watched in amazement as Elena, still wearing her cleaning uniform, worked at the whiteboard with the skill of a master mathematician. She corrected coefficients, adjusted variables, and explained concepts that his engineers had struggled with for months. Her handwriting was neat and careful, each number placed with precision. When the board of directors arrived for their meeting, they found their CEO standing beside his cleaning lady, both of them covered in marker dust, grinning like children, who had just discovered treasure. Marcus looked at the shocked faces around the conference table and made a decision that would define the rest of his career. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, I'd like you to meet our new Vice President of Advanced Mathematics, Dr. Elena Rodriguez. Elena's eyes widened. But Mr. Patterson, I'm not... You solved a problem that stumped 50 of the world's best engineers, Marcus interrupted gently. Your father would be proud, and if you'll accept, Patterson Industries will pay for you to complete your mathematics. PhD while you help lead our research team. The battery project succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. But more importantly, Marcus learned that brilliance exists everywhere, in executive suites and supply closets, in boardrooms and cleaning carts. Sometimes the most profound solutions come from the most unexpected places, if only we have the wisdom to listen and the courage to see beyond our assumptions. Elena Rodriguez never cleaned another window, but she never forgot the lesson that brought her to that whiteboard, that every problem, no matter how complex, can be solved if you just know where to look for the dirt hiding in the corners.